Go drill or stay lost. Legacy begins where illusion ends. What is abundance? How do we define a life worth living, fighting for, standing with? Are we included in this? With the upcoming full moon in Capricorn, we are being encouraged to draw the line. If we are to make sense of our ideas, judgments, and emotional frequency, only in listening to the future we are creating can we become the OGs we've always been, designers, artists, guardians, leaders of the times to come. Be warned, however, in truly looking at what's really going on, we could just see where this responsibility has been miscommunicated or silenced all along, and by whom. It shook me. The lyrics of Something Inside So Strong, sung by the choir as I walked through the streets of my new town, tingled in my chest. It shook me. The sudden news of my beloved cousin passing, leaving behind 2 young boys, the strength and support of my family coming together, tingled in my chest. It shook me. The children dancing in the streets, adults raising funds for causes, the carnival of my own childhood still going, celebrating its 40th year, tingled in my chest. It shook me. The realization a true leader doesn't choose between themselves and their visions. A deeper remembrance of community, my own role in it, the acceptance of who I've always been, those I'm here to support, tingled in my chest. It shook me. The offer of a room to work in within a stately home at no extra cost, alongside another at a wellness centre where exercise and alternative therapies could become one, as well as a space in the local hub, tingled in my chest. It shook me, realising the song for this month was by a buffalo, the totem of my own family throughout their endurances, an animal guide of strength and perseverance. It shook me further still when I realised the lyrics spoke of a tune called For What It's Worth. Tingled in my chest. What didn't shake me was the fear rising within it all. The awareness this morning not only of my own doubt, but the very reason this silencing sound wasn't enough to stop me. The shake-ups I've received my whole life, the perseverance, resilience, truth of my own experience. The reason behind it all, a deeper remembrance of who I've been all along, the original gangster version of myself, that for whatever reason I have questioned. Be it the society I live in that has different views to my own regarding wellness, care providers and their importance, leadership and boundaries, or the very creativity within me I've remained in conflict with. In reality, there has been a far greater sound shaking within me, tingling in my chest, the greatest vision of the times to come I've seen in so many, vaster than the external collapsing of systems I've witnessed this week alone. The emergence of nous, the soul's voice, that can only be heard through the physicality of human experience by those with real life intelligence to listen. Something we will all need to redefine with the upcoming full buck moon in Capricorn, insisting we raise our ideas, standards and vibrations as the world faces great upheaval in our technology and communication, post-Uranus in Gemini and the 7-7 portal. Last occurring in 1941, linked to several wars and revolutions, the next 7 years are set to bring forth some necessary shake-ups to anything we've been unwilling to hear. Supported by a full lunation in not only the Earth sign of Capricorn, trining Mars in Virgo, but Venus in Gemini, trine Pluto in Aquarius, as Saturn, Capricorn's ruling planet, sets to retrograde in Aries 3 days later. Now is the time to stop. Listen. Look at what is really going down in and through our bodies. For many, this has or will come in the inevitable final lesson of Uranus in Taurus, as we are guided to look at what we are no longer willing to accept in our own consumption. This may well provide and be supported by familial, ancestral-rooted pain, particularly regarding change, money, health, security, and stability. As we lead into 2026, the vibration of the Wheel of Fortune will be examined in the recognition of our foundations and who we can rely on, ourselves included. Meaning we are set to face the weirdest or worriedest magical age of information yet. From AI to the artificial placating of our own emotional intelligence that will cause us all to question what is being created and by whom, from the global stage to our own intentions. It's not about what we share, but how content we are that will determine the abundance we offer and ultimately receive in doing so. Chances are this basic soul need will speak to us in many forms as we reflect over the midway point on the world we long to see, alongside any conflict within us preventing this, way before Mercury turns retrograde. Because it is a conversation often avoided that has always been present in, well, our presence. No matter how shocking it may seem, it has never been hidden, but does now demand the opportunity to be heard for the soul's expression it's always been. As we approach a technological era of change where the external becomes more virtually participated in, it is vital we decide upon the stories we choose to witness purely by observing those we act up, upon, with, or in, and from where. The emphasis has never been more on connection and community. If we are to recognize it is we who are held by any vision, that we are not outside or separate from it. Of course, this means for many leadership will be re-examined, both on a collective and individual level, with many recognizing and appreciating the roles they have played all along, leveling out any deceptive dictatorship decisions. Any us and them choices have the potential to be dismissed, provided we can refute their divisionary dogmatic dialect, both our own and from a world designed to conquer individualism. But that will initiate a degree of responsibility as we take charge of things that have once seemed out of control and acknowledge what leadership really means. If we can get real, there is an influx of possibilities waiting for those able to ground into what really matters, what's worth building upon, where our precious energy and attention can be deserving of its value. Reconnecting from here to what has been sustainable all along and making changes towards any long-term growth and goals. As mentioned, with Mars in Virgo and the Moon in Capricorn, we must remain aware, intentional in how we invest our time and power for the greater rebellion it is. In reclaiming this creative essence, we will find ourselves more able to authentically generate ideas and feel into the endless opportunities of Venus in Gemini, brought forth from the infinite wisdom of our own aligned soul. That does mean we could all do with a mental makeover, a breakthrough in how we perceive technology, communication, community, and ideas, which, with the support of Uranus retrograding later, back into Taurus and eventually moving into Gemini again in April 2026, will be provided over the next few weeks through reoccurring themes towards any necessary shifts from now until then. These will, however, most likely change too. Such is the nature of this placement, and it is our ability to not only navigate, witness, but become the alchemic process of transformation that will best serve any evolution needed in the future of humanity. How? In the very being of life, the expanded meaning of day-to-day routines, the growth available, recently supported by Jupiter also journeying through Gemini, not in changing, but curiously expanding the vision we have of the mundane muggleness of mediocrity and its reinvention, by finding the magic within it, beyond the limited perceptions we have of ourselves as its innate creator. Linked to the previous new moon in Capricorn in December 2024, this full moon offers a chance to reflect, celebrate anything that has materialized but gone unnoticed, and from this more gracious, gratuitous, practical space, fine-tune that which we wish to achieve with a more balanced, realistic expectation. Appreciating there is a difference between embodiment and ambition, striving or savoring, known as abundance, be it wisdom, life, or experiences. Only then can we hope to release any restrictive beliefs we may have on our current path and set more empowering steps, not only based on where we are, but who we may have failed to realize we have become. Taking time to reconnect to the body and Pachamama as the container for anything we are trying to create. In aligning our nervous system, we can expect hidden fears, doubts, and for some, addictive tendencies, be they thoughts, relationships, or substances, to rise. After all, Capricorn is the devil in the tarot. But these internal messengers, regardless of how they arrive, are here to ensure a more integral, structured sense of purpose through the recognition of anything that is no longer dependable, giving us the choice to come at things from a traumatic or timely response. The difference ultimately being how free we allow ourselves to feel what is necessary in our own divine discoveries. This month is all about the R's, not just the lip service that often rolls off the tongue, but the frequency found in our reactions, supporting us to reflect, assessing any progress, sensing into our priorities and the foundations we require, reassess, editing where we may need to get back on track, recommit to the meaningful efforts required to continue with any long-term plans, release any judgments we may have on ourselves or others around them, rewarding how far we have come by gathering from now until Lamas the fruits of our own labour as we continually reconnect to people, our environment, ourselves, and the very aspects that make life worth living. Found on the Cancer-Capricorn axis, this balance between personal and professional availability is likely to take centre stage as we recognise the gaps between them. This doesn't, however, mean filling them in, but allowing the culmination and fulfilment of this awareness to inspire a greater appreciation of career and public life mergence. This will, however, require both the nurturing Cancerian mother, currently in the light of our sun, and the driven actions of the infinite father, Capricorn moon, to be the internal reflection of their combined efforts mirrored in the union of our own emotional spirit, if we are to bring forth a more aligned devotion through presence towards anything we are hoping to deliver. Beneath it all is the necessity, regardless how we may feel about it, of structure through the consideration of any legacy we are creating. It isn't always about us. A harsh but no less undeniable truth, inviting us to look to the future we are seeding in our responses as we take accountability for any aspirations we may be feeling, in the practical application of our emotions, for the resourcing rather than inconveniences or disruptors they have become. Trine to Mars, although positively placed, our external confidence and inherited passion isn't enough light to keep the sacred flame burning. Professional endeavours and igniting relationships can maintain the spark for a time, but the light we carry depends on the ability to direct intuitive power. A sacred release and truth that will bring forth the inner authority now needed to ground into the wisdom we are here to uphold. Our own. If we are to become the architect of the life we live, we must transmute with this fire any narratives we have stored, particularly those related to work, time, worth, and success. So what does it all mean to us beyond everything? The ideals, judgments, imposed fear-based pain that runs through every generation, body, and collective psyche. Well, Capricorn is the mentor, steward, leader we all individually and collectively came here to be. If ever there was a moon, other than that in Virgo, to sum up this hermit year so far, it would be this re-evaluating turning point lunation, gifting us a chance to weave success and soul together by rooting into our own sacred choices. Suggesting, provided we can listen to that deep inner call that demands a discipline and ambition beyond pressure, Recognizing the external triggers for the mere initiators they are of a much larger noise, we will hear the rising of our own nurturing emotional waters that have come to determine meaning, devotion, and purpose. By resetting collectively the systems that have controlled not only our power, but the very energy we are here to live by. This is an inward journey, made clear by Saturn retrograding a few days later into Aries, that encourages us to identify the version of self that has been guiding our goals and actions. If we are to rewrite these stories and reclaim our own agency, we must make space for the reality we have been conceiving to emerge through us, to be seen. In observing any procrastination with this and the reasons behind it, from a place of self-development over punishment, we can embrace partnerships that support or challenge our structures from within. As, with a North Node in Aries, we ensure anything we are resonating with is in accordance with who we wish to become. Boundaries are also set to be encountered in less of a rigid mentality if we can appreciate them for the living, growing entities they are, not the forbidden, pain-protective, unreliable foundations they have produced. Although the moon is in her detriment in Capricorn, a planet of logic and rational understanding. But this is no ordinary goat, but the original vision returning, the OG sea goat of our higher self, coming home to the consideration of any emotional depth we have gained from what has seemed like the dark night of the soul for so many. Encouraging us all to expect over the next few months things to become clearer, not in our own understanding, but the felt sense they continue to make, provided we can navigate the full embodiment of any teachers. Beyond the trigger of lessons, the glimmering growth of experiential wisdom to the gratitude of our own gnosis. Receiving the knowing gained only through living, honouring, not bypassing or projecting our own indigenous intelligence from a place of emotional maturity and responsibility. This full moon is best served in clearing the path before us, bringing resolution, wrapping up, not binding or restricting loose ends, in preparation for the deep introspection later in the month of several subsequent retrogrades. In alliance with Eris, the disruptive, chaotic sister of Mars, alongside the sacred contract-building asteroid Hera and the vigilante shadow fixed star Sheliak, any illuminations this week, moon aside, are set to bring forth clashes against imposing laws and structures, meaning outdated systems, our own included, will challenge viewpoints that have had their day. By leaning into this discomfort from within, ensuring any stirrings are elevated and connected to the higher timeline of harmony, we can allow issues from the last 6 months to be heard and reach their necessary point of completion. This may come with a repression regarding that which we have control over, but it's up to us to regain focus on all we can shift. Some agreements, particularly those of a karmic nature, are here to be upheld, lived through, and dissolved in their experiences. With Saturn, the lord of such disciplines, sextile Uranus in the mix, it would be beneficial to remember who is to be held accountable in licking any spoon of gossip and immature mindsets, as we better use our time turning tradition into more innovative, steady, supportive changes that endure, not disrupt, particularly past ideas now needing acceptance. Through fierce protection, there is hope for institutional reforms with patience, time, and organisation. But this goes beyond one person's perspective and the greater good of community-based consciousness. A harsh but no less honourable price of power, often entangled in ancestral pride and lessons only life itself can teach, that is now demanding mutual respect, integrity, and the recognition of strength through inner clarity, not individual visionary control, no matter what or whose side we find ourselves on. Found in the second decan, linked to the Three of Pentacles in the Tarot, it is only through collaboration with the lasting lifetimes of effort we can show and see that success is not in what we gain, but how willing we are to do the work. In this, our effort is no longer negotiable, for the very focus we must maintain now resides in the cost of our own choices. The substance of a self-made soul, both irrelevant of privilege or victimhood, but in an empathy earned, not assumed. As we continue to turn resilience into wisdom, rejection into mastery, simply by remembering the sound of passion with purpose. Occurring in the UK on the 10th of July at 9:37 p.m, supported by the vibration of the Fool, Magician, High Priestess, Empress, Lovers, Chariot, Strength, Wheel of Fortune, Moon, and Hermit overall. There is no doubt this full moon will bring forth strategic partnerships that, whilst different, will initiate a formidable recognition of who we've always been, providing surer footedness on our own path as we return to the original soul blueprint, during what, with Saturn conjunct Neptune, is set to be the beginning of a 34-year cycle regarding our dreams and the realities they come up against, especially our own. As we build new frameworks from broken but not unrepairable systems, any escapism, particularly since 2016, is to be illuminated for the light now needed. Us, who we've always been, through any change in the face of every adversity, reigniting the emotional creative rebellion within, here to shake it all up. This is ascension. The time of Pachacuti, as the world turns on its head, our potential arrives from heaven to earth, not through avoidance, the external, or separation, but the physical recognition of it from inside, forming the Chicana or Rainbow Bridge, an ultimate prophesized evolution of humanity. May we all realize what is happening here is our own becoming. In deepest munay, I ask you now, what's it all for? You know where I am. Take care. Kirsty.